Bad news just keeps coming in, man. It's like a nightmare of mafioso drama where the boss is in prison right now. He's not able to operate his racket, and all his points men whom he's just trying to find out about the money coming in are getting popped off one by one. Litigations keeps coming in and coming in. That's just what I'm equating to what we're going through as a country right now, man, in terms of bleeding jobs, man. It's crazy. Each and every single day, the numbers are coming through of companies that are losing their jobs. It's crazy. It's unbelievable. Today is mass mat. Over 1,800 jobs are going to be lost. So game is going to be losing about 1,800 jobs. So it's crazy. Just when you thought that this now has stopped, we also had the news. NASPAS to close some essay publication, cut jobs. So it's crazy, and NASPAS, obviously, it's a holding of whole lot of publication. One that comes to mind is Drum magazine. We grew up on Drum magazine, classy magazine. Good memories with that. In fact, in 2004, we had a movie. Remember the cinema? The movie was called Drum. It was in 2004. It actually talks about an investigative journalist who was one of the editors when Drum magazine was formed. His name was Henry Numalo. And the movie ends where a gentleman who was playing the character of Henry Numalo got stabbed to death. And by the way, Newtown, Johannesburg, remember Koch Street? It was renamed to Henry Numalo Street. If you go to town, you'll see the street Henry Numalo. It's named after that gentleman, And with NASPAS, obviously, it has its tentacles in a whole lot of companies. It's owned by Gus Becker, who also owns DSTV, MultiChoice, as well as some company in China. It's called Tencent. So, they're cutting and dicing employees. It's sad now what's going on now in the Republic. And then we also have MassMart. MassMart obviously owns a whole lot of companies, Game, Builders Warehouse, Macro, And remember, MassMart was acquired by an American company. They own 51% of the stock. The name of the company is Walmart. It glided through the competition tribunal, and it was acquired, although there were a whole lot of protestation, from labor unions such as Sakau and so forth. They also were worried about that the merger is going to make it difficult for other companies to be able to compete. But if you look at all these other companies, overseas companies, your giant multinational coming through, there should be a law where we are not supposed to allow other multinational companies to own major stakes in our countries, companies, because at the end of the day, the focus will be different. Even though now we're having lots of retrenchments because of the economy is doing bad, and how we also handle the lockdown, we have to have companies that are South African companies, that stays here. We have a problem of a whole lot of giant corporate companies also here in South Africa, which were allowed by our government to have dual listing in the UK, London, as well as in South Africa. I think investment comes to mind. I also think SAB also has listing in the UK. A couple of companies, So at the end of the day, you find that then the loyalty of those companies are just basically not lie within the republic, and some probably, also the shifting of funds, internationally or between the countries, starts to become an issue, and also the sovereignty of a country. Basically, the more our the companies starts expanding and not having a base, in terms of making more money in this republic and making money in other places to such an extent where they might just get an incentive to move. So we just even don't know about the agreements that the governments were having in terms of the legislations of making the countries to be all over the show, And the other company that still also comes to mind is MultiChoice. It's almost near a monopoly. Let's just say it's a duopoly, or oligopoly. Let's just stick to duopoly because other satellite companies in the republic are not a competition. We still don't have our set-top boxes for the SABC, and we all know when we're watching the Zondo Commission, how it all went in terms of the former Minister of Communications and the Guptas getting paid for their news channel, ANN7, without even having to advertise, but they were still getting a whole lot of money. I guess they pulled a couple of strings, in order for at the end of the day that the DSTV then would still be a hegemony, So yeah, it's kind of tough, I was thinking about the SAB of, anytime now probably they're gonna be talking about job cuts at the SAB, because they were not operating for a long time. I remember on the 12th of Feb, an article by Suren Naidu from the Money Web. It says job cuts expected at SAB. That was the 12th of Feb 2020, this year. Around 500 workers received Section 189 letters on January 31st proposing termination of their employment. That was the article, about 500. So now you just don't know what's going to be happening when the companies are going to check their books, to check their performance and their quarterly performance. I mean, when it comes to SAB, it has thousands and thousands of people being employed, from the brewery itself to the liquor stores. You can name them, your Pick and Pay liquor store, your Hyperama liquor store, your Spa liquor store, other liquor stores, giant liquor stores, the number of people who have then been hired. And also it goes all the way down to your township taverns, your village taverns and spots. I mean, this just amounts to thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people who, most of them, as time goes by, you can just only visualize job cuts. It's bad, There's also a little bit of a glimmer of hope in terms of the Edcon holding, because it looks like they're going to get a little bit of help, from their rival, though, as much as they're going to get their rival buying and rescuing, their business. That also, at least, it's going to help the employees to be employed, An article here, it says Edcon agrees to sell stake in Edgar's to rival from Business Tech. It says Edcon Holdings agreed to sell part of South African clothing chain Edgar's to a private equity-backed regional rival, safeguarding a 91-year-old brand and potentially saving thousands of jobs. Administrators led by Lance Shapiro and P.S. Marsden struck a deal with Retailability Pty Ltd, a holding company for brands Legit, Beaver, Canoe, and Style, that owns 460 stores across Southern Africa. Details of the transaction will be finalized based on the signing of further agreements. The business rescue team said in a statement on Tuesday, Edcon was put into a local form of bankruptcy protection in late April after a 5-week strict lockdown to contain the coronavirus in SA, wiped out sales and curtailed a recovery from a 2019 restructuring. Edgar's was put up for sale alongside sister chains Jet, which specializes in low-cost clothing, and Thank You, a finance and loyalty card unit. Rescue plans for the other parts of Edcon are at an advanced stage. The administrator said the company as a whole employs almost 18,000 permanent workers and hires about 5,000 more on a seasonal basis. So there's just a little bit of a glimmer of hope here. And speaking of bloodbath, in terms of people losing their jobs, another story pertains to SAA. The Independent Online here reports Public Enterprises tells SAA Union there is no money for better severance pay. This is one of those stories where we've been told that SAA, it's just going to disappear because there's no money. But at the end of the day, then we're being told that there's going to be a new airline, so you just wonder. And this article here states that, among other things here, the plan envisions retaining only 1,000 of current staff complement of close to 5,000 employees. Okay, so we're looking at 4,000 here, employees losing their jobs as well. So bad news just keep coming in. While we're still having such bad news, on the other hand, the governing party, who at least feel like they're ruling and not governing, City Press article here by Junior Kumalo and Mandi Zanyati. Johannesburg budget slashes service delivery but proposes increases for mayor and chief whip. Huh? The living is easy here. The living is easy. You know? So the new mayor has organized himself to get an increase, and then the budget for service delivery is going to be slashed. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, you know? And it goes on and on and on and on, right? Speaking of the bad news by the governing party, here's another one. You're not going to believe it. But I guess we're so numb nowadays that you better believe it. So this pertains to the 500 billion COVID-19 relief fund. Okay? You know, you must have seen the president marshalling his forces, the treasury, the finance department. You saw the minister of finance, Tito Mboweni, talking about carrying a ball, knocking at the doors of all this financial institution and begging for money. Please, please. We'll talk about sovereignty later, please. You know, because we had to put together 500 billion. As we now busy, I think 260 billion in terms of the budget money was diverted into the relief for COVID. And now we have to get 240 billion. As we speak about that, listen to this. We now have to have the hawks and everyone investigating the corruption and fraud which is underway relating to this money that we're still going all over the show to get. So there's already corruption happening. Listen to this article. I'm not going to read the whole of it. It's from the article is from the South African. Headline, if you want to read the whole of it: investigations into 500 billion COVID-19 relief fund and fund corruption underway. The SIU is waiting on President Ramaphosa to sign a national proclamation which will allow investigators to consolidate all allegations of corruption. Ain't that something of a beauty? Right? It's amazing. It's amazing. Let me just read this little piece over here. In OR Tambo District Municipality in the Eastern Cape, it's alleged that tender corruption has been rife under the cloak of lockdown, with millions of rands falling into unscrupulous hands via an erroneous COVID-19 awareness campaign. Initial reports indicate that a company contracted to conduct a door-to-door campaign with a cost of 4.8 million failed to prove any form of outreach. So they didn't come up with the information of the outreach that they've been doing for door-to-door campaign. Okay? The Health Sector Anti-Corruption Forum, which continues to work closely with the SIU, confirmed that the OR Tambo District Municipality issue was not an isolated incident, and that in addition to 45 health sector cases being investigated by the Hawks, you heard that, 45 health sector cases being investigated by the Hawks, more than 70 lifestyle audits were being conducted on government officials implicated in wrongdoing. There you have it. So we're having a sieve as we get in this bucket where a whole lot of people are thirsty, right? the government is busy pouring the water into a bucket and the bucket has a leak. Somebody got a little cup underneath the bucket and getting the water so that they can drink with their friends. Where else we're trying to save the republic. So it's all bad, folks. It's back, and this is just the beginning. We're on the month of July. So imagine in the next 6 months, the next 2 quarters of the number of unemployment when the reports are coming in. I mean, we're already having a bloodbath here, folks, as a starter. So I don't know the main cause, what we're going to be calling it, you know? And yet you have people who are still saying, go sit your butt inside your house because Corona is going to kill you, folks. You know? So right now you should know that being unemployed as a breadwinner at home, while you're sitting at home to such an extent that you're going to be unemployed like this as a breadwinner, maybe to a family of 5. We're already seeing the numbers of people being admitted to hospital in terms of malnutrition. I mean, like we are on some famine level. Malnutrition in this republic, you know? But yet you still have people who are getting their salaries, okay? Full salaries from us, the taxpayers, telling you to stay at home. And by the way, taxpayers, there's bad news, okay? Yesterday's article of City Press states wealthy taxpayers set to cough up 40 billion rands in terms of tax. Where are they going to tax you? Treasury ponders viability of a wealth tax and how it relates to property taxes and estate tax to mitigate expected budget deficit of 709 billion this financial year. I'm not gonna read it. So this is what's happening. So the taxes are coming through, you know. So this is what's happening now. So expect taxes to go high. And they put it so nicely because they say it's wealthy tax and estate tax. Don't worry, poor folks. We're not going to be taxing you. We're just going to be taxing the riches, the wealthy, and those who've been having intergenerational wealth that they're passing through down to their offsprings. You're not going to be touched. You know? They might as well tell you that we're going to tax the so-called wealthy, in fact, corporate companies, okay? And in turn, those corporate companies are going to say, well, for us to be able to afford these taxes, we're going to lay off. So this equals to more and more unemployment. And this little few cows that they're milking tax from right now, they're diminishing. Okay? So it's like now they're now killing the golden goose that lays the egg. You know, getting the golden goose eggs is not enough. Kill the goose, and tomorrow you will be saying, it looks like we're not gonna be getting eggs anymore. What did we do? We killed the goose. The goose. Is it the geese? So my name is Mamuji. On this sad note, I'm signing out. Thanks for watching the Mamuji Show. I'm outie.